We're good.
I mean, as we're starting.
Yeah. We're alive.
Oh, okay. I was just doing a work thing. Hey, middle-aged gamers, welcome back. Today we have Doom: The Dark Ages impending in terms of being released, unless you're one of those people who bought it early for $100. And please let us know if you did and how you're finding the game. So far, reviews seem to be very good. Adam's going to talk more about that in just a sec. We're also going to be talking about Echo the Dolphin, Taro Dominion if I have time, the possible shutdown of the Ori and the Blind Forest, the Ori game studios, and their impact on negative Steam reviews. And we're talking about the upcoming PC gaming handhelds for 2025. If you are going to buy a Steam Deck or other handheld this year, or like a Nintendo Switch 2, what other things can you consider? A lot to talk about, Adam. Let's get us started with Doom: The Dark Ages, and what have you heard?
All right, so yeah, Doom: The Dark Ages will be releasing in 2 days. Although you can pay for early access and have it right now. I guess it came out like a couple days ago if you were doing it that way, or you could just pre-order it and wait. I know Antoine hates pre-ordering it, but yeah, you can do that if you want to. So anyway, it's going to be on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5. So any of those. It's not on Nintendo Switch, but who knows? Maybe it'll come to Nintendo Switch too. I think what was it? The last one did, right? So this is going to be a prequel to Doom Eternal. So this is going to happen way in the past. And because of that, they're able to kind of play around with some mechanics because, you know, you haven't learned them yet, or you're doing things in a slightly different way. So this is going to be, they're describing it as less vertical and more horizontal, which is supposedly going to be putting it more in line with some of the older Doom games. In the last one, Doom Eternal, it was very vertical. You're jumping around, you get a double jump, you know, you're climbing and whatnot. If you go back to the older Doom games, though, you know, you couldn't jump. You just kind of move side to side. If an enemy shot at you, you would move to the side, so there's a lot of strafing. They say that this game is going to be going back to that, so you're not going to have your double jump. They are getting sprint back, though. But yeah, you're going to be more, you know, on the ground, moving side to side, dodging. You know, it's kind of a, they say there's a bit of bullet hell mechanics. Hugo Martin, the creative director, described it as, if you were an F-22 fighter jet in Doom Eternal this time around, we want you to feel like an Abrams tank. So you're going to be heavy, but you're going to hit really, really hard. And when it comes to hitting, a lot of that's going to be up close and personal. So this game is going to put an emphasis on close quarters combat. You're going to have a mace and shield, so melee is going to be a really big part of it. They have a parry mechanic now. So, you know, if you parry the enemy attacks, then you can kind of build up a charge, it looks like, and you're going to be able to release that. And they're also going to be adding some what they call vehicular segments, or at least that's what people were calling it online. They're not really vehicles. One of them is a dragon, so you get this big kind of cyber dragon thing that you can ride around on, and the other one's a giant mech that you can pilot. Now, I have seen people saying in reviews that these are actually not as much fun as they sound on paper. You know, it sounds like it would be really, really fun to get this giant dragon and fly around, or get this massive, what do you call it, like Pacific Rim style mech and just smash stuff. But they do say the dragon part is a little bit lackluster. It does feel a bit stiff. It's not very smooth. And the mech part, they say, well, you know, it's a bit more realistic than what we would see in something like Pacific Rim, because it's moving like a giant mech actually would, where you're moving really fast, but it feels really slow because the scale is completely different. So it does, they did say the mech combat does feel a bit slow, but still something worth checking out. Where they're going to be visiting new realms. You're not just going to be visiting Hell. I don't remember what the name of the other realms are. You start off in kind of this space Viking area, and you move into Hell, and then you move into some other place. And there's also going to be new factions. So you have, obviously, you know, the Doomslayer, and then you have, you know, humanity. You also have the demons, and then you also now are going to have these kind of Lovecraftian witches or whatever, and they're going to have their weird little alien things going on. So new factions, you know, new elder gods and stuff like that aren't necessarily demons and so whatnot. So they are going to be expanding that. This game's also going to be far more cinematic than the previous entries in the game. They're going to be putting a lot of emphasis on story and cutscenes in this one. And then also NPCs are going to be playing a bigger role. You know, most of the NPCs in the previous games are kind of like you run into a room, there's a scientist in there, he gives you a key card or helps you through a section, and then you move on, and he cowers in a, you know, a cabinet somewhere, so you never see him again. Here they have NPCs that are going to be, returning. They're going to be talking to you. They're going to be interacting with you. They're going to be, popping up throughout the game. So NPCs are going to be much bigger. Story is going to be much more fleshed out, or it's going to be more substantial. And yeah, it's going to be a lot more cinematic. So there's going to be a lot more cutscenes and that sort of thing. Now, the reviews are good, but it's weird because I've been seeing a lot of kind of mixed responses in the way people are describing the game. Some people are saying it's absolutely great, it's fantastic, you need to play this game, and other ones are saying like, it's meh, it's good, it's a good game, but it doesn't quite hold up to Doom Eternal or to the 2016 reboot. So they say, so they say, it's good, but it's not Doom at its peak. So nobody's been saying it's bad, though. Everyone's been saying it's definitely worth playing. Some just say, it's not as good as previous Doom entries. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check it out. You can pre-order it, like I said, and wait a couple days, or you can just go ahead and pay a little bit extra. Korean was saying it's $100, and you can get early access if you're willing to pay the full price. So you can play it right now. So go ahead, check out Doom. Let us know what you think about it. Are you enjoying it? Do you like it? Do you like these new, dragon segments and stuff like that? How are you liking the melee? Is it a great touch? Is it something that really adds to Doom, or you're kind of like, they probably should just focus on the guns? Let us know what you think in the comments. So,
yeah, I think I've told this story a few times. Like, I played the first Bethesda Doom reboot, and I was like, this is pretty good. I'm liking it. The action was good. It is very reflex heavy in a way. I mean, in order to like really take advantage of combos and stuff. But then I told this story a bunch of times where I got to a part where you have to jump up a high place. It probably takes you 2 minutes to go up there. And I mean, I'm like a minute to 2 minutes. And if you fail, you have to restart or reload all the way at the bottom of the jump. And so I did this 3 times, and then I deleted the game because no. I mean, FPS games should not be platforming freaking puzzles. With that being said, I've always been curious. I mean, Doom was a game from the 90s that I'm sure Adam played the Doom. Adam, did you play the original Doom in the 90s?
Like I played it at friends' houses. We didn't have a computer, so if I was at a friend's house, then they would have, they might have Doom, and we would play a bit. I probably played more Wolfenstein than Doom, but a little bit. Yes. Never like full the way through.
Yeah, no, I never played all the way through it as well. Like, I think I did play a little bit, but like, I mean, that was fun, and that has such a nostalgic feeling. And then I saw, like, going back to what you said about the reviews, like a lot of people like, this is another safe Doom. They knew people were looking for more of the same. They try to change things here and there, but it's not as innovative as they would have liked. I mean, which is what a lot of people say about like third games in a franchise. So second games, which is like, yes, awesome, fun, I'm enjoying it, but I wish they had done more. So I will give the Doom a chance at another point, maybe Doom Eternal actually, probably before I give this Doom 3 a chance, but again, on sale. And just if I'm like, okay, I need to shoot something, let's give this Doom, it is on sale. And so if I do encounter a jumping puzzle, some sort of irritating thing, I could be like, okay, I only lost $10 as opposed to losing $70 or $80 or $100.
Yep.
All right, and then today I'm going to talk about the upcoming portable PC gaming handhelds. So, and these are totally not my notes. These are the notes. So it's 2025 and you're not buying a Nintendo Switch 2 for a variety of reasons, but what other choices do you have this year? So far this year, confirmed, we have a Lenovo Legion Go 2, an MSI Claw 8 Plus AI, yes, we'll talk about the AI, an Acer Nitro Blaze 11 and an Acer Nitro Blaze 8. We have some unconfirmed handhelds, the Xbox handheld supposedly coming out this year. Apparently the same hardware as the Asus ROG Ally 2. Maybe the Asus ROG Ally 2 and the Xbox handheld are the same device, as some people have suggested. But let's talk about these things. So Lenovo Legion, right, the original Lenovo Legion Go was some decent hardware. It did some things, interesting things, right? It had a 120 megahertz screen. But again, with like a lot of these devices, even more so than the Steam Deck, because you've heard me complain about Steam Deck software issues before. a lot of these devices, right, especially these standalone Windows 11 devices, are let down by the hardware in that you are forced to sort of go in there when you want to play a game like, let's say, Doom, and you have to play around with settings, play around with battery power, play around with resolution, play around with textures, which as a PC gamer, sure, you sort of used to, but as an older gamer, again, do you want to spend 15, 20 minutes like I did trying to get Marvel's Midnight Suns to run on the Steam Deck at a decent rate? No, you don't, because that feels bad. I want to play my 1 hour games and enjoy my life. But so that's also something to be aware. The Lenovo Legion Go 2 it's upping the screen refresh rate to 144 megahertz. It has the latest Ryzen 2 Extreme processor, very similar to the Nitro Blaze and the SSRG Ally 2. So it's going to be able to run games, all the latest games, at least at 1080p, again, with a variety of settings when it does come out later this year. There is no word on a price for this one. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the MSI Core 8 Plus AI. Again, Taiwanese companies love AI. Whenever I go past on this road where Adam and I live called Minsheng Road, I see a sign that says AI Rosa, and it talks about some totally non-AI related thing. But yeah, no, AI is totally useless in this. Forget about that. The MSI Claw 1 was pretty terribly reviewed. Again, I mentioned it on the show before. When it came out, it was terribly reviewed. A month later, you found it in Costco here in Taiwan on a like $100, $200 discount. So that should tell you about enough. Maybe the second one is going to be better. MSI is different because they're using an Intel processor. And for you hardware-related geeks, you should know Intel has the larger processors. So it means the die is larger, they produce more heat. They are still good at gaming. Intel is still like a really good gaming processor, but this first one was like, everyone was said, the first review was like, yeah, no, just get an AMD handheld gaming PC. Why would you even bother with Intel? So definitely check out some reviews before you consider buying the Core 8. The Acer Nitro Blaze, this looks the most interesting to me because it's expensive though. It's $1,100, but it is an 11-inch portable handheld. So Steam Deck is 7.9 or 7 inches, something like that, right? Like 11 inches is pretty big. So it's going to be pretty heavy. But 11 inches, man, that's pretty nice to be holding up to your face if you could hold it up for that long. It does come with a smaller version, the Blaze 8, which is smaller and cheaper. I mean, in line with price with the Steam Deck. Again, this is another Windows 11 handheld. So I think out of the lot of stuff that's coming out, maybe this is it. I mean, because of the large screen size, I mean, I would have loved a bigger screen. Oh, there's Adam showing 11 inches. Thank you, Adam. That's huge.
Yeah, that's next to my head. If I'm putting this like right touching my forehead here, it's that big. It's bigger than my head, so
that's big. Yeah,
it's huge.
That is definitely
next to my arm. Yeah.
Damn. Yes, and then last we have the unconfirmed Xbox handheld, which again might be really interesting, especially if it comes with Game Pass. I mean, all in all, out of all the things I'm talking about today, right? Like, look, do you want to spend $800 for a portable handheld gaming PC? And yes, I mean, did I spend that much? No, I spent $700 last year for my birthday for a Steam Deck. But I mean, when you can spend $450 for a Nintendo Switch 2 and get your original Switch catalog, if you had it, available on the Switch 2, most of the games, right? Again, though Nintendo said they're only, shipping 15 million Switch 2s, it might be hard to get, especially considering, I guess the last Switch sale, the number was 155 million units, like about 2 weeks ago. So my recommendation out of all of this is, yes, get a Switch 2. The next possible solution would be an Xbox handheld with Game Pass available, where you can run Game Pass on the Xbox handheld. It works wonderfully. That would be amazing as a second option. But even still, right, you're still going to be paying $800, $900 for that. Again, a Switch 2, and even if you're paying $70, $80 for a game, you're still getting 2 to 3 premium games this year. Plus, I mean, Switch games, you have a whole lot of indie games coming out on the Switch, and I don't think they'll stop coming out on the Switch 2. That's definitely something to take into account. All right, Adam, any thoughts on this? Are you ready to move on to Echo the Dolphin?
Expensive.
Yes, definitely expensive. Definitely expensive.
Yeah, I was looking at pictures of it in the I don't remember which one it was, the 11-inch one, but It was like holding a cafeteria tray, the guy in the guy's hands. It looked like he was holding a giant cafeteria tray, like a big bulky one. It was big. It was real big. I'm sure that would be fun to play on if you're like have a table or have, you know, a tray or something on a plane to put it on. But if you're holding it, I'd imagine your arms would get pretty tired pretty quick. But yeah, no, it looks great. Yeah, I'm not super big into portable gaming, as I've said before, but it would be nice to have one for like vacations and stuff, you know. But yeah.
Tell us about 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin. I've seen the rumors online for the last few weeks.
They're not rumors, they are truth. So yeah, we got 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin, which is getting a reboot, a new set of games. I don't really know how to say it. So anyway, the original creator has come out and he said, yeah, you know what? You're not getting one, not two, but three 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin games. Granted, two of them are remasters, but the third one's going to be a completely new game. And our last 𝙂𝙀 game was Defender of the Future in 2000. So it has been 25 years since the last 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin game. I'm kind of surprised these guys are even still around in the industry. They're not retired yet. But anyway, the guy, his name is Ed. I don't know how to pronounce his name. ANNUNZIATA. Anunziata. I'm sorry, Ed. I cannot pronounce your name. I apologize for that right here. But he has announced that him and the original team that made the games are all working together to create these new games. So it's going to be a remaster of 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin, the original from 1992, and 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin Ties of Time from 1994, and then an unnamed new game, although he says this will come with contemporary play and GPU sensibilities. So I'm not quite sure what he means there. I'm assuming it means that the game is going to be in 3D, like, what was it, the last one? But yeah, I don't really know what GPU sensibilities mean for an 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin game. That's kind of an interesting thing. You can check it out. You can go to www.𝙂𝙀thedolphin.com and you can check out the countdown. I have it up right now. It is currently sitting at 8,258 hours, 20 minutes, and 34 seconds as of when I said that number. Now it's down to 32 seconds. Obviously, it's counting down. But it looks like it is set to end on April 26th, 2026 Eastern Time, US. So that is when we can expect, I guess, the game to release or an announcement. I don't know, but something's supposed to happen at that time. So also last year, in December, Sega filed trademarks for 𝙂𝙀 and 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin. So there have been rumors about this for a while, but now he's come out and said, yes, we are in fact making their new game. There are 5 games currently in the franchise. They're all quite old. As I said, the youngest is 25. But those include 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin, the original, 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin Ties of Time, 𝙂𝙀 Jr., 𝙂𝙀 Jr. and the Great Ocean Hunt, and 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin Defender of the Future, which was kind of a reboot of the series. It kind of started over, so reset everything. And these games can get kind of weird. You know, you think, okay, a game about a dolphin, you know, how odd can it get? It can get really out there. So these are kind of spoilers for the first game, or the first 2 games, or actually the first, actually, you know what, it's first, second, and 5th game. But these games, they contain aliens. They contain magical ancient sea creatures. They contain flying dolphins from the future. They contain dinosaurs, a sentient ocean, time travel, obviously, with said aliens, previous aliens, going into the past, getting stuck there, and then evolving into modern sea creatures. There's a multiverse. There are human-dolphin alliances, which are then broken, and then humans enslave the dolphins, and then the dolphins have an uprising against the humans. There are future dolphins where they evolve into different forms and form, you know, different clans and have dolphin wars. And these dolphins look kind of, if you take a look at them, they look kind of like road warrior dolphins. They have like a bunch of spikes on them and stuff like that. And there's even like a dolphin triforce. If you know from Legend of Zelda, there's a Triforce, right, in which represents power, wisdom, and courage. And the 𝙂𝙀 the Dolphin games, they just call them spheres, but it's basically a quint force. There's 5 of them. These spheres contain the prominent noble traits of dolphin kind, which are ambition, intelligence, compassion, wisdom, and humility. So they have that, and you must acquire all the spheres of dolphin noble traits and whatnot. It's out there. And then you have the two Echo Junior games, which are edutainment. So they're kind of like Math Blaster. You go around, you match some numbers, you learn some pattern stuff. But there's a little more edu and a little less tainment than the Math Blaster games. So, but these games are really, really weird. And back in the day, they were really, really hard too. You didn't have a real map or anything. You didn't really know what you were supposed to do. You kind of had to swim around and maybe talk to other dolphins, and those dolphins would say like, oh, hey, go see Big Blue. And you're like, okay, what's Big Blue? And where is Big Blue? And then you have to search the entire ocean for this giant blue whale. And then this blue whale is like, I don't have the answers. But if you seek out this ancient, I forget what they call it, Armonite or whatever. If you seek him out, he will be able to help you. And then you seek that out. And it's like, oh, well, I have magic powers, but I can't help you because I'm missing parts of myself. You need to go into the past and get parts of me and bring those parts of me to the future and connect them to my current me so I can be whole again and then give you magic. It's weird. It's out there. But they're great. You should really check them out. But yeah, and then there have also been a couple of canceled games. There was going to be a sequel to Tides of Time, but that got canceled. There was also going to be a sequel to Defender of the Future. That also got canceled. It was going to be called Echo 2 Sentinels of the Universe. So, space, dolphins in space. But yeah, so anyway, you can wait for this. If you cannot wait, though, you can play the first 3 games, Echo the Dolphin, Tides of Time, and Echo Junior, on the Sega Genesis Classics collection. I believe that is available. Yeah, it is available on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. So basically anywhere you play games, except for Android, you can play the original Echo games. So if you want to do that now, you can do that. Or if you just want to wait for the remaster, you can do that too. But yeah, so it looks like they'll be coming out on April 26th next year, but who knows? That might just be when they are officially announced or we get more information. But yeah, keep an eye out for it. Echo the Dolphin has a lot of nostalgia for me. I played it a lot as a kid. Absolutely loved it. Never beat it. It's super hard, but absolutely loved it. So yeah, keep an eye on that one.
I mean, this is one of those. My younger brother had a friend that had a. Was it the Sega Mega Drive? The portable thing? What was that called?
There were 2. There was the Game Gear and there was the Nomad.
The Game Gear. The Game Gear. That was one. His mom or dad had got it from overseas and brought it to South Africa because back in those days, of course, South Africa was still under embargo because of apartheid. But yeah, I remember seeing it. That was the first time I saw Sonic. That was the first time I saw Echo the Dolphin. And I'm like, this looks really cool. And then as you talk about the story, I'm like, oh my God, there's a story behind Echo the Dolphin. And it's really weird and cool at the same time.
Really weird.
I mean, this is something I'd love to play portably on Steam if and when it does come out. Yeah, because I mean, I just love to sort of like I always wanted to play it, but again, we only managed to play it like 3 or 4 times whenever he brought it over to our house. So yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna dive into Adam's expertise. If you enjoyed Adam's take on South by Midnight and Game Pass last week, you're in for another segment this week. So this week I saw a story, and this was not going to be my second story. It was going to be my third backup story, which is basically that the studio behind the beloved franchise Ori, right? They said they might have to shut down. So my hope for this is like, the next time you're leaving a negative Steam review, you might want to rethink that. And the Ori studio, right, basically came out and said, oh, the head of the studio, and then he sort of walked it back, was like, no, don't worry, we're going to be okay financially. But again, a lot of other publishers have picked this up. I saw a game rant story about 3 hours ago talking about the same thing. And basically, they've done what a lot of other studios have done, which is they were like, okay, we've made Ori 1, we've made Ori 2, wonderful games, totally well received on Switch, on PC, on PlayStation, I'm sure as well. But they're like, okay, again, with any game developer, like we've committed 8 years, 9 years, 10 years to this particular series. We want to try something different. So they released a game, No Rest for the Wicked. And No Rest for the Wicked is, unfortunately, and again, you can roast me down in the comments, another Souls-like, crazy difficult game. And again, I think this is it's unfortunate these sort of games keep coming out, but again, maybe this sort of leads into the fact that maybe there is sort of like a burnout on this genre of gaming. So they released No Rest for the Wicked. They did a bunch of YouTuber promotions. A guy that I like to watch, Force Gaming, he talked about the game, and as usual with the structure of those sort of sponsored videos is wonderful things, criticisms at the end, and for most YouTubers, given Adam and I know this, right? Like YouTuber viewer duration, they watch 80% of the video if you're an amazing YouTuber, much less if you're like an average YouTuber like we are, maybe 50% if we're lucky. So they just see the good things and they go and they try the game. And at the moment, this game is currently sitting at mixed reviews on Steam. The CEO of the company was like, hey, he went on Discord and he wrote a long message saying, look, we're kind of struggling because these negative reviews are impacting who actually thinks about buying the game. And of course, that's totally true. Like I'm someone, if I see a mixed review for a game that's even on my wish list, I'll remove it from my wish list just because my brothers and I were talking about this yesterday. My Steam wish list is, I got it down under 200 games, and now it's coming back to 200 games again that I want to buy at some point. So I try to decrease it as much as I can. I mean, even if it's a game's a mixed review, like as a middle-aged, as an older gamer, as somebody who's already mapped out the rest of 2025 in terms of gaming, I don't have time to buy. I wouldn't want to spend my money on a mixed game. I might even like a game like Clear Obscure, which looks beautiful and is amazing. Listening to some of the downsides of the game, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to pay full price. I think the developers deserve full price, but I don't want to pay full price because I'm not sure I can get past certain mechanics of the game. So coming back to No Rest for the Wicked, my question to Adam is, and to you guys, again, comment down below. I'd love to hear what you think is, when you leave a negative review on Steam, or have you left one? I think I do try to leave reviews, especially for studios I'm passionate about, like Coral Island, I left one. I don't think I've left a negative review in a very, very long time, maybe since before the Steam review process started. Do you consider those negative reviews and how they impact the studio? Do you think it's fair for the studio of the Ori studio to come out and say, Moon Studios, to say, hey, can you start leaving some positive reviews, because you might not be able to finish the game? I mean, what's the line between negative reviews and affecting the studio and giving feedback on a game? Because again, this game is in early access. You are supposed to leave reviews. That is part of the process. So Adam, what do you think about this ruckus?
It's really complicated. I mean, obviously they have the right to come out and say, hey guys, we need some help. And right now we need you to post some good reviews because we're kind of struggling here. So, I mean, they have every right to ask for that. On the other hand, why do you have so many negative reviews? Like, I know review bombing is kind of a popular thing right now. People do it all the time, especially with when and sometimes it has nothing to do with the game at all. Sometimes it has to do with maybe an individual who worked on the game posting something publicly that people were unhappy with. Sometimes it has to do with the game not running on certain settings, and then people posting bad reviews in kind of solidarity of that. I've seen that where people say, like, oh, this game doesn't run well on certain graphics cards or something like that. And, it's, but then you have people that post and they'll put negative comments because they're like, oh, it's not running for everybody. Even though it runs fine for me, it's not running for everybody, so I need to put a negative review. I've seen that before. I don't know if there's a better way to do reviews because, I mean, Steam's kind of polar, right? You either say recommended or not recommended, and that's it. You can't say like, oh, okay, this is a 7 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, or if for instance, if you were saying like, oh, this game's got some flaws but it's still playable, I'd give it a 7 or maybe a 6.5 or something like that. You either just have to say, yes, I recommend this game, or no, I don't recommend this game. You can't be like, well, it's a good, but it has some work, it has some ways to go. There's no middle ground on that. But then again, I don't know if that would be better, because if you did that, if even, for people who are just going to put a 0 on it, and that's going to drastically, a 0 is going to pull it down way further than you know, of one, or, you know, out of one or two than it would out of 10, you know, just because the way averages work and whatnot. So yeah, I don't really know if there's a good solution to this. But it is something that I do think about sometimes, you know, like, oh, how do we impact, especially in today's market with the way games work. For example, one thing that I always kind of think of, and I'm not quite sure what the right answer is the whole thing with pre-orders. For instance, I'm the kind of person who, if I see a game and I'm really interested in it, I will pre-order the game. And even if it comes out buggy, you know, I'll stick with it, and hopefully they'll patch it out. Then you have people like Antoine who go the opposite way, and they're like, why would you ever buy a game on release? Just wait for sales. Which is a perfectly valid way of thinking. But at the same time, if everybody was doing that, a game would release, they would get no sales immediately, and they would say this game is a failure, and then they would not patch it, they would just abandon it, and it won't get sequels no matter how good the game is. So in a way, you need people to be initially investing in a game, for, you know, for it to succeed. You know, you need those X many sales within the first week, you know, because if even if a game is great, but everyone's waiting for sales, you know, they're gonna say, oh, in the first week this game only sold 500,000 copies. This game is, you know, nobody's buying it. Nobody wants this game. And then you're going to look at it and you'll be like, oh yeah, and maybe I should ignore that game. It's not popular. When in reality it would be. It's just everyone's waiting for sales. So yeah, it's weird how we have an impact on games. I mean, definitely vote with your wallet, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's complicated because, I mean, you can't say, well, you should, you know, screw it, just buy a game on release, don't wait for sales. No, absolutely not. If you want to wait for a sale, absolutely wait for a sale. But at the same time, doing that does have an impact on the game's success. So yeah, I don't know. It's really complex, and I don't know what the right answer or what the right solution is.
No, I agree. Like the No Rest for the Wicked issue is just really multi-layered. It's the impact of negative reviews. It's the fact that the studio bought the rights for No Rest for the Wicked recently, like a bunch of other studios, a bunch of other organizations have done. Like, yes, we now own our own game, our own IP, our own brand. Let's use it. And then when you do that, now you have the extra pressure of like, if this fails, we're done. And I think that's what they've sort of seen, is the impact of that, of buying their own brand, then having to deal with reviews and deal with a very large, a very broad gamer base who, and a lot of people have complained on the Steam reviews, rightly so. This game is crazy difficult. One of the examples a guy gave was like, there are 100 spells in the game. There are no descriptions for each of the spells. You have to try them out and figure them out for yourself to see what they do. I mean, that's freaking hardcore, right? And again, a lot of this game is like that. It's they describe it as a precision action RPG, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds like work. Like it's. I mean, I understand. I can imagine there's a certain allure for people. Like, yes, oh my god, this is awesome. I get to figure this out. It's like I was like an isekai anime. I was reborn into this world. I cast fireball. Like, okay, that's a fireball. I know what that is, right? And I cast magic missile. Okay, then I cast deflect magic, right? And then you have to figure out what that is. So I think they may have gone too far to the extreme, and there's so many rogue-like, not even rogue, I guess this is a rogue-like Elden Ring games out there. Like, why would you make another one? So I mean, that's a layer on top of that. It's dealing with community feedback. It's managing the vision of where you want the game to go, with what the community wants, with what retail customers actually want, the people who are putting money into your game, and figuring that all out, right? And like you said, it is complicated, but I like a lot of what you said.
Yeah, I also think it's complicated because how much of it, like in a negative review, there's no, because like it's just a not bipolar. That's not the word for it, but it's just a binary. Yes, play this game. No, don't play this game. But you know, people go into games with expectations, and is it a problem that the game is not a good game? Is it not worth playing, or is it that I went in with the wrong expectation? You know, you see people talk about this with like, you know, Souls-like games all the time, where, you know, a game or like, for instance, with Clair Obscur or Armored Core, you know, if people go in expecting a certain thing, you know, like this is what I'm expecting because this is what this company has released before, or this is what I'm expecting because there's this YouTuber who usually plays these kind of games and now they're playing this kind of game, you know, and you're like, okay, I think it's going to be that, and you go in and you play it and you're like, oh, it's not that. Oh, I know, I don't recommend it. I thought this game was going to be, you know, I thought it was going to be more story oriented, or I thought there was going to be more of a emphasis on builds, or I thought there was going to be less of an emphasis on these parry mechanics or whatever. You know, that's what I thought. I went in, I played the game. It's not what I thought it was, so I didn't enjoy it. And that's fair. But, you know, is it because you didn't enjoy it because it wasn't well done? Or is it because you didn't enjoy it because you thought it was going to be one thing and it wasn't that? And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But then if you leave a negative review, people who are coming in afterwards can't tell. You know, maybe if they read your review, they could tell. But they're not going to read every review. They're going to look at, you know, it says mixed reviews. So, yeah, it's really nuanced and super complicated, and I do not know the answer.
Nice. I should say I'm not nice to Moon Studios, unfortunately. I hope they're still around. The Ori series, I have them. I think I have one on PC, one on Switch. I still haven't played it yet. Adam, why don't you round us up today with the two sort of shorter Switch stories that you had, the Switch Chat one and the arbitration clause?
Yeah, so we got some news on Switch today, and not today, but recently. And one of them's kind of interesting, and the other one's not great. So the first one is that the Switch 2 is going to have a new battery feature that says when your Switch reaches 90%, it's going to stop charging. So you will never reach over 90% charge. You'll never reach a full charge. Now, you can turn this feature on or off, so you can opt in or opt out. But the reason is apparently with batteries, when you do fully charge them, they deteriorate faster. So by only charging it up to 90% and then, excuse me, and then stopping, then it's going to keep your battery life running longer. It's going to prolong the longevity of your Switch 2. I know I used the word long several times there, but I did what I did. So, I mean, that's a good thing, right? Now, I'm not quite sure how helpful it is. I don't know what the difference is going to be. Also, I don't know, like, for instance, most people I think who bought original Switches, probably their original Switch still works. So, you know, are we talking like a battery wearing out in 20 years versus 25 years? Because I don't know how many people are going to be still playing their Switches in 20 years after release. Some people obviously will, but how many? I don't really know. And, you know, and then also, too, is the battery going to be the first thing to fail, or is something else going to fail? You know, is your screen going to fail you first, or is something else going to become a problem that you're going to need to replace it long before the battery becomes a problem? I don't know. But anyway, it's good that they have this feature, very eco-friendly, you know, less battery waste. So fantastic there. But there is some bad news coming out from Nintendo as well. Nintendo do be Nintendoing. So they have recently added an anti-arbitration clause to their EULA. And basically it is in section 16, and it is a class action waiver. So it says specifically, this arbitration provision precludes you and Nintendo from suing in court, having a trial by jury, or participating in a class action. You and Nintendo agree that arbitration will be solely on an individual basis and not as a class action arbitration, class action, or any other kind of representative proceeding. You and Nintendo are each waiving the right to trial by a trial by a jury. So basically, if you want to play your Nintendo, you have to agree to the user agreement. And if you agree to the user agreement, then what you're saying is, if there's a massive problem, like for instance, the Joy-Cons were having a lot of issues, so people are coming together to create a class action lawsuit, Nintendo says, nope, you are not allowed to do that. You are waiving your right to do that. You cannot do that. If you have a problem with us, you sue us directly by yourself, which obviously most people would never be able to do. So that's basically preventing people from getting money out that way. And that kind of sucks. But you know, that's business. Think of that as what you will. I don't like it, but it is what it is. On the other hand, Nintendo is doing something else that's not great. So basically what they said is, if you are caught attempting to pirate games, run unauthorized software, or tamper with any of their system protections, they have every right to brick your system. And so you can never use your Nintendo Switch again. You'd have to buy an entirely new one. And I don't even know if you could use it, because maybe you'd have to create a whole new account. I don't know. But you're kind of maybe you're wondering, well, how are they going to know if I mod my, if I pirate a game or mod my system? Well, they say if you or your device experiences an error, we collect information about that error, the time the error occurred, the application or features being used, the state of the application when the error occurred, and any communications or content provided at the time of the error occurring. So basically, they're saying we're watching you, and anytime something goes wrong with your Nintendo, it will tell us. And if your Nintendo tells us, oh, hey, I had an error, something was wrong, and we look through and it says, this shouldn't be here, this was modded or something like that, frick, your Nintendo is now useless. So, obviously this is going to bring up a lot of arguments of, when you buy something, do you own it? In this case, the idea is no, you do not. Maybe you buy the physical plastic that the Nintendo is, but you don't buy the access to the software that is being licensed. Also, the new Nintendo Switch 2 is going to have a game chat feature, which will allow them to monitor audio and video interactions. However, at least this one is with consent. You have to opt into it. Or actually, I don't know, maybe you have to opt out of it. But you can opt in or opt out. But they will be, I'm assuming it's going to be on by default, and it's going to be listed in the huge list of things when you sign that EULA, and you can turn it off later, would be my assumption. But yeah, so and I saw something, I don't know if this is true, but I did see something online where somebody was saying, like, if you're caught pirating games by using like an emulator or something like that, if they find out who you are, they can brick your Nintendo, even though it wasn't your Nintendo that you were using the pirated software on. But because you're running on a unauthorized software in the emulator, that maybe they will come for you. So I don't know. Very sketchy. This is one of those things where it's like, okay, big corporation, they can do whatever they want, and there's very little we can do about it. So a bit 1984 there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that's the way corporations are going to go, at least in the US. I can imagine in the EU that have a bit of issues sort of getting that stuff done, just because the EU is far more pro-consumer than I would say a lot of other areas are in the world. That's it. Nice. So Adam, you're still playing Clair Obscur, and you're going to play it again, go for a second round, I would imagine. So you can be streaming that for at least another month, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, I don't know, because I'm right at the end, and I'm just clearing the extra content out, the extra dungeons, the side content, clearing that out, and then I'm going to, and then I'll beat it. And then when I beat it, I think I'll play a New Game Plus, but I think I'll go, I know there's 2 endings, so I think if I play it the second time, I think I'll just do the story. I think I'll skip all the side content because I've mostly unlocked all the Pictos and everything I need. So I think if I play it a second round, I'll just beeline the story and just go straight through and get that second ending, and maybe look at some, if I have some character interactions, I'll go with the other option that I didn't go with this time, that sort of thing. So yeah, so I don't think it'll be long on my second playthrough to get through it, but yeah. But then also too, I have Doll's Nest that I want to play before Death Stranding comes out. So because of that, that's part of the reason why I'm kind of like, I think I would streamline, because I'm like, I do actually want to play Doll's Nest. So I want to get to that.
People loved your introduction to Doll's Nest.
Yeah, no, it looks really fun, and I really want to play. So I'm like, I want to play it so bad, but I am enjoying Clair Obscur. So I was like, do I want to play a second Clair Obscur? And then I was like, if I'm going to make a video of it, I should probably at least play through both endings. So
you don't have to.
No, but I should. Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah, because originally I was thinking of doing a video like I did with the Synduality. I did a review in 3 acts, and I was thinking of doing a review in 3 acts with Clair Obscur. I've already recorded the audio for the intro and the first 2 parts. So I was, I did the 2-hour mark and then the 15-hour mark. So I was waiting to complete the game to do kind of like a final assessment. But then at this point, I'm like, man, but the game's already been out for a long time. Everybody's reviewed it. It's such a huge game. If it was like a smaller game, maybe that makes sense. But this game is so huge, a review at this point would be almost meaningless. So I think I might do more of a Stellar Blade style story condensed kind of thing. So because of that, I think it makes sense to play both endings, so I can kind of
Yeah.
comment on it. So
Then for sure, yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Nice. All right, you heard it first, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to keep an eye out for Adam's story style review of Stellar Blade of Clear Obscure. I knew I was going to say that. And thank you as always for tuning in. And we will see you guys next week for more news, more games, and more industry news, more
Yep.
relative industry for, I don't know what to say. Anyway, thank you and see you guys next time.
Yeah.